My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
It is Judd's Hockey Show. It is the Tuesday edition, which means it's not just Judd, not just AJ, but Jessi Pierce as well from the Bardown Beauties. Plenty to talk about, including a wild win last night against the Kings. But before we do, if you are going to any remaining home games, or heck, if you are just going to be in St. Paul, I want to tell you about my friends at Parlor Bar down West 7th, not too far actually from the X. It's the perfect place to stop for a wild game. As I said, right down the street. Special game day menu available 3 hours before face-off of wild games. I've talked about the Parlor Burger for a long time here. I've also been telling you about their chicken sandwich and all of their delicious food and their cocktails and their beers. It's all absolutely incredible. And it's all, again, within steps of the XL Energy Center down West 7th Street. So stop in before a wild game and enjoy all Parlor has to offer. You will be happy that you did. Okay, kiddies, let's talk about last night's game. Because and Jess, we'll start with you, but you know, the two games that the Wild has won on this 7-game homestand, they're 5 games in, Colorado and then last night. I don't know about you, and I'm being slightly facetious here, but I've gotten done watching those games and I'm exhausted. Like, there is no margin for error. They are playing, and I thought those two games, and again last night, they deserved 2 points. Like, they deserved to win. Mm-hmm. So this is nothing against them, but scoring goals is like pulling teeth now, and the structure that they have to play with. And if they get the least bit away from that defensively, it's the Blues game. So like, I don't know. From one standpoint, I want to pound at the table and say this is how you have to play every single game. But then from another, I'm like, that's a really, really tall ask of a team to play like that with that much structure, and how hard you have to play and how few times you get rewarded in the goal scoring department.
Unfortunately, though, that's the lot they've been given without Kirill Kaprizov, without Jules Eriksson Ek to help generate that offense, because apparently the forwards can't get it going themselves. And again, I thought last night was better as far as some of the opportunities, but there wasn't a lot of ice. And unfortunately, that's the time of year. I even asked John Hines that. I said, are you guys going to have to be that very defense first? Not necessarily that they're going into the defensive shell, but that's when they are coming out winning games, is when defense is on point. And he said, yeah, it's just that time of year, which is fair to say. And Philip Gustafsson, also a credit to him, I think played really well. I thought John Merrill kind of summed it up fairly good as well post game, where he just said, we're really playing for each other. I think that was the difference in last night's game. He felt that everybody was stepping up. Obviously Merrill with an incredible save to step in and help Gus out there himself. But yeah, it's going to be exhausting. It's going to be a grind, but there's no other way until Matt Boldy can get it going, until Matt Zuccarello can get it going, until Marco Rossi can get it going. And good news is you saw the power play start to click and get a little bit of that going too. But it's going to go back to the nice old Jacques Lemire days where we're looking at 1-0, 2-1. And yeah, it's a very fatiguing way to play, but it's where they're at.
Yeah, they're going to revert to, like, it felt like they were kind of getting out of that shell where for 20 some odd years it was the boring, okay, we're going to play fundamental 1-2-3 hockey, and now, okay, Kirill Kaprizov's here, we're going to spice it up a little bit. Nope, we're going back to your breakfast is like blank toast, scrambled eggs that have no salt or pepper on them, and then a couple OJ. That's it. I hope you don't like flavor. It's going to be bland, but boys, it's going to sit in your stomach all right, because you might get a couple wins here and there, but they're going to be a 2-1, a 1-0. Goaltending has continued to look pretty solid. Like Marc-Andre Fleury and Philip Gustafsson are doing their job respectfully on the back end. John Merrill, as much as I've kind of called for him to maybe be sat for an I keep saying it's Adam. It's David Jiricek, not his brother.
He has a brother named Adam?
Yes, he was just drafted in the last draft, actually.
There we go.
Yeah, knowledge. You're deep.
Love it.
Knowledge of prospects is sabotaging you right now, AJ.
I know, right? But the power play, like, I think everybody knew after 7 in a row for the penalty kill was not sustainable, like considering what we've seen all season long. So they finally give up one last night, but they get it back. Credit to, I think, Drew Doughty was in the box. They score on the power play late. That was a great sign, because I feel like when they go on the power play, I don't really have too much faith. It's a lot of standing and waiting and, okay, let's wait for the very picture perfect shot. Right there, it was chaos out front. You get a shot on goal, maybe a little plinko. You got a little lucky. It trickles on through. But these games moving forward, the final 20 or so, they're not going to be super, super entertaining. Like if they're in a primetime matchup on national TV, those producers might want to consider flexing them out for somebody a little more high octane action.
And the funniest thing is
putting them at 8:30 at night. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh, against Seattle. Why? That's a whole nother thing. Why doesn't ESPN flex games out? Like I would have flexed. I would have flexed that game out a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
ABC continually shows the same garbage teams, the Pittsburgh Penguins, because they've got Crosby. Okay, but they suck. But post game last night, I found it to be somewhat amusing when Zuccarello was asked about shooting the pass from Boldy that scored what eventually turned out to be the winning goal, you guys. And his response is, I was playing so poorly that I shot because I didn't think if I passed, I could complete a pass. And you want to say to him, Mats, that's it. That's it. From now on, just assume you can't complete a pass. That's what you have to. But, Jessi, I think I was watching that last night, and it was weird. There were times where the Wild definitely had chances and didn't score. And Kemper made some nice saves. But, I mean, Gaudreau on the doorstep was just a grade A, phenomenal chance, and he sort of buries it in Kemper's pad. Nice save, too. But then in the second period, they just couldn't create chances. Like, they couldn't establish the offensive zone. But I'm torn here. Can this team not create offense, or can this team not finish? Because at times it feels like, okay, it's just hopeless. They're creating nothing. But then at times it's like, no, they're actually creating. They just can't. So, and like, where is a Boldy, for instance? Because you're not going to have a lot of guys. You just don't. You don't have a lot of talent. But I'm very torn about like the state of this team's offense, and if we should just consider it a lost cause until perhaps Kaprizov comes back, or if there is something there and for some odd reason, a lot of these guys that ordinarily can score some goals just are simply not scoring goals.
I think it's a mixed bag answer for you. It's a little bit of everything, right? For the most part, I haven't seen a lot of games where they are generating that offense. And I would ask Hines that, and he's like, no, there were, these shot attempts. And I was like, no, there weren't. Like I watched this game. There was not an offense generated. Now, last night, for instance, I think they were very well kept to the perimeter, and that has been a problem. The offense hasn't been getting to the net. They haven't been getting the bodies, and we have talked about that at length, how that's where you really miss a Jules Eriksson Ek, or that's where you need Matt Boldy to step in, or you need your fourth line to get going. The fourth line the other night against St. Louis, I thought, was the only line that did anything, right? But so I think you have that to go up against because of the time of year. You have teams that are going to come in and keep your offense to the perimeter, so that's naturally a problem. But yeah, the shot choices are awful because if they're not going straight into the goalie or not going straight into Mikey Anderson on defense, they are going 100 feet wide. And it's just kind of like, what are we doing here? Yeah. And I think a large part of that is probably the guys are gripping the sticks tightly, right? They were feeling it. They knew that they were not getting the offense going. They were not getting the goals as they needed. So hopefully a 2-point win will help them maybe relax a little bit and get those. But in general, I think it's the shot choices. They're not good shots. They're just awful. It's the perimeter hockey that they're having to play. And therefore not getting the bodies. And then it's just in general, not shooting. It's not like these are bad. You're not getting the bounces. Sometimes I can agree, right? Mm-hmm. Or Alex Laferriere not getting that bounce over John Merrill's stick last night. Right. That's a bad bounce. Right. That's not what the Minnesota Wild are fighting against. They're not getting the looks that they're not creating the looks even.
Right. It feels like, and they're not creating as at the amount of opportunities they did in the series I'm about to mention, but the style of where they are at times feels like the Blues playoff series when people were like, look at all the chances. It's like, yeah, well, they all came from the perimeter. Yeah. But it's weird because so Hines continues, you're right. Hines continues to say, well, we are creating chances. We're getting the chances. We're playing well. And John Hines is basically saying it's sunny outside and it's pouring rain.
The earth isn't falling. We heard that about 3 or 4 times last night in the post game is that the earth isn't falling and you
don't overreact, you guys.
Yeah.
He basically tried to help write Russo's story. Russo was all upset after the loss to the Blues, and Hines is like, even you guys get a little bit too upset about things or something. But the one thing is, and this is what he doesn't say, and it's sort of like, well, John, this is the next step. Is what you just said, Jess, which is okay. When you do create chances, you've got to get to the dirty areas consistently. And that's the next step. And like, it's almost as if Hines doesn't complete the sentence because he's like, well, we're creating chances. And you want to say, yeah, you are. But if number 12, just as a, for instance,
just a guy we're going to
just
toss
a guy
out there.
would go to
somebody out of the stratosphere there,
would be willing to go get his ass kicked. He'd be in the area that you want for the rebound. And, my God, the next time Marcus Johansson circles the net and does ring around the road, you know how he just circles the net, and it's like he has speed and momentum, and you're like, oh, I can see the play. And then the next thing you know, he's like circling back to his own blue line or something ridiculous. So, yeah, John Hines, they are creating at times. They're not at times, but they are at times. But it's like, okay, the next logical step is you got to go and create chances because I will continue to say this. Well, without Kaprizov and Ek, this team is not talented enough to try to score nice goals. Mm-hmm. And it's like they want to still score nice goals, and they have very, very few people that can. And quite frankly, Boldy is now 11 games without a goal age. So
yeah,
it all adds up. But John Hines is a very, very positive man. I will say that.
Yeah,
it felt like an inspirational speech last night. I'm not gonna lie. Like, look we're team first here, guys. We're leaning on each other. That's what this team is about. The earth isn't falling. The earth is not falling. I know there's criticisms out there, but the earth isn't falling. I was like, yeah, it was a little bit of a crumble,
It's off its axis.
2 points last night.
It's off its axis.
Yeah.
He is not. It's funny, and I don't blame him, but John Hines, and it's sort of been passed down to his players because they parrot the coach. It's very, very clear that he is going to tell you nothing's wrong. And then you hear, the stories about post-game after the Blues game where the players are in the locker room screaming. Like they're so pissed off, they're screaming. And they're, and then you walk in and it's like, hey, what's going on? Yeah, we got to play better.
We were just figuring out where we wanted to go to eat after this.
Exactly. Like people are like, you could hear them screaming at each other, and then it's the earth's not falling. Don't worry about it.
I heard it was pretty uncomfortable too to hear some of the things being said to one another in that room after that game.
Well, and you know what? Good for them. The guys that screamed, they deserve. I mean, they played like crap. I'm not sure I subscribe to the John Hines motivational school after that loss. Like against the Blues, I don't need him to torch the team. That's fine. And I don't need him to act like the earth is crumbling. But I would like to see a little bit more of an edge from John at that point. Because it did feel like he was just trying to slough off this. Like there's a difference between if they lost last night, I would have said, well, yeah, but you worked your ass off. That's unfortunate. Yeah. Right. The Blues game, it's like you just played like crap.
Well, and it's a 4-point swing, as we know, right? Like that's a team. And St. Louis, credit to them as a hot team, right? They're a good team, but I think more importantly, you don't have the luxury to drop games against your division. And luckily, those are far and few between. But yeah, that's where you kind of want a little bit of a Dino to come in and a little tight.
Razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
Little razzle dazzle. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, like going back to what Jessi said about Hines' comments about just generating offense. Like we're getting the chances. Are you though? Because you look at their scoring chances and you look at just shots on goal. And when's the last time they've consistently in back-to-back to even back games hit 30 plus shots? Yeah. That's when this team you've seen in the season has thrived. Like when they get 30 plus shots, that's a benchmark for success for them. And when they get there and they lose, it's probably because goaltending or defense wasn't as great on their end. But they're sitting around. Sometimes they get to 20. And sure, you have one or two good chances, but they are just waiting to get to these perfect areas right on top of the crease. And then you have the kind of I'm going to just call them the Bogosian shots, which are top of the zone, really no intent other than to just put it down there. You're probably going to miss wide. And the just hitting the net has been a massive problem. Judd and I were talking about this, Jessi. I don't know if you've noticed this over the last handful of games, but Matt Boldy, was it against the Penguins, Judd, when he had, I think, 6 shots on goal, but he had 12 shot attempts and 6 of them, the other 6 were just You're in the slot. We're going to try to pick a corner, and then we end up ricocheting it off the pane of glass behind the net. What's wrong with just testing the goaltender? What's wrong with just putting one low off the pads when you know you have your two other line mates that are crashing the net for some sort of rebound chance? Like there's no reason to get fancy when you're on this team without Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek. Just put something on net, test the goaltender, because frankly,
the goaltender that played in the American Hockey League for the past month. Test that goal. I still can't. I'm not over it. That was so ridiculous.
There's a lot of really bad goalies in this league.
Wow.
People have to remember that. Like these guys, despite maybe not being the hottest team in the NHL, have really good shots compared to, like, relative to everybody else. A lot of these goalies just frankly aren't that good. If you put it on net, they're going to make a mistake. They're going to mess up. So when you don't even put it on net, forcing them to make a save, you're just doing them a favor. I don't care if, you can wait. Like, granted, I think this one is a bad example because it would have been, without Mikey Anderson, a wide open net. But last night, Nyquist opts to pass to Boldy on the side. Granted, that probably was a goal if Mikey Anderson doesn't put his manhood in front of the puck. But also, if he shoots that, I don't think anybody bats an eye. Wow. Frankly, I think people should, you should encourage that shot. Why are we trying to make the extra pass so often when you're in this drought, like a Sahara Desert drought right now? You can't score. Just put the puck on net, get guys out front that are in green. And that goes back to Judd's point of just why are we not crashing the net? Get to the dirty areas. That's what we've heard the coach and the GM preach, press conference after press conference. And then guys just refuse. Stop being the window cleaner with your shoulder up against the glass along the wall. That's what the arena staff is for. They'll take care of that after the game. Get to the front and clean up the garbage, put it in the back of the net.
The best part about that is this, though, the guys that do get to the net, I have never seen, in modern day hockey, Jessi, I have never seen two guys with worse hands than Trennan and Brazo, but they get to the net.
Glad that was the starting line last night too. I was just, really excited me for the game.
They've been good.
They've been fine.
Recently.
But they've been fine. Let's not call them good. Let's not draw.
But they have hands of stone.
What they have done. For what they have done.
Yes, but their hand, I've never seen. And what's weird is Trennan actually has some decent goals. So I don't know what happens, but it's literally like God gave these guys bricks for hands.
Yeah.
They get to the net, they get scoring opportunities. Like the Blues game. It's like they're playing really well. But then it's like they have mallets attached to their wrists. Mm-hmm. Explain this.
Mallets to their wrists, cement on their feet. It's not a good combination. Okay? let's just call that what it is.
And Hustadinov scoring goals left and right in Boston.
He's just ripping it up for Boston.
I don't understand that trade.
Didn't need him.
I don't understand that trade. Hustadinov scoring goals. But I mean, I'm dead serious. Name me a line for the Wild in the last 10 years that has, played more and gotten ice time and creates some chances. And then, I mean, it's like Devon Shore is living a nightmare every day. And he's not that good.
Yeah. But he's got, more skill than wingers, right? It's frustrating because it's that big body. It's those big bodies and they are getting to the net, right?
Yes.
But it's put your body, throw your body out there, let it hit off your glove, deflect it in, get a tip or do something. It's increasingly frustrating to watch in general when your top six can't produce and you're reliant then. And again, it's why they're playing this boring style of hockey. You talk about Gus Nyquist too. It was a harsh reminder that he has not scored a 5-on-5 goal since November. I mean, a very, very long time. I think he has one all season, to be fair.
He might be cooked, you guys.
Yeah.
He looks cooked. He doesn't play smart. The skill that we saw in the brief Gus 1.0 Wild days is gone. Mm-hmm. Did you guys notice last night? So the Wild took a too many men penalty, and
that needs to stop. They love doing that.
I know.
So
I know.
No, get it.
It's just bad communication. You count to 5.
Right. Yes. Count to 5.
And again, with no margin for error, you cannot make that mistake. But anyway, so Zuccarello serves it because he doesn't kill penalties, which is fine. Yeah. Zuccarello steps out of the box. I believe Nyquist is at his own blue line with the puck. Zuccarello has a slight step. So he gets out of the box. Mm-hmm. And I think he hit a stick against the ice to say, Gus, pass it to me. Nyquist, I don't know what he's doing. He looks down. He ends up skating parallel with Zuccarello and passes him the puck at the Kings blue line after everyone's coming back.
And now you've killed all momentum. You don't have that rush anymore.
What are you doing?
And then what happened? Then Zuki turned it over and then it went the other way.
Yeah, but I mean, give him the chance to get the puck and use some speed, right? Like, I don't blame Zuccarello there. What is Gus Nyquist doing? And to get back to your point about goal scoring, Jessi, what is he doing here?
There's a lack of awareness, it seems, from Gus there.
It's a second round pick.
Yeah. I hadn't realized that, and I was like, oh, like I was just doing a little bit of research, and I'm like, yikes! Like Nashville was bad, but my gosh, like it's.
Did he take the Predators like scoring problems and just because after he left, they put up like 6, and then they put up 5, and then they put up 6 again or whatever. Now the Wild can't score. Is Gus Nyquist just cursed? Because Liam Ogren could be doing these performances. He could have a point every 3 games.
I was like thinking that exact thing yesterday too. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm missing a Liam Ogren right about now. Like I'm really, because that's a guy who has your size and can move, and he's doing really well down in Iowa right now too. I think he's scoring at almost a point per game clip. But I don't know. I think I've succumbed to the fact that we're just going to be watching defensive hockey. I don't know when Kirill's going to be back. I don't have hope that Jules Eriksson Ek will be back for the regular
season. But they're progressing off the ice, right?
They're progressing off the ice. Neither player has been on the ice. That's not good. Just in case you didn't know, you need to be on the ice.
Jessi Pierce, this is why we have you on the show. You come on this show because you cover the Wild. You do a great job, and you can tell us that Kirill and Jules Eriksson Ek not playing. Bad, kids. Bad.
News. We don't want that in case you didn't know. Goodness gracious. God. They're not practicing. So that's your other thing is you're going to get them in. By the time they do, it's a morning skate. They're not going to play in that game, and I don't know. The runway is shortened even more. There's no runway.
So Brodin close to being back, right? He's practicing again.
I would guess maybe Saturday. I don't know that necessarily. I think Saturday feels like a safe game too, a little bit, and it's an afternoon. But yeah, he looks good. He stays out there. There was an optional practice or optional skating again yesterday, and he stayed out a little bit later. But he looks good. I don't think he's 100%. I don't think he's going to be for probably the rest of his career at this point. I don't have faith in that. I don't know that for certain. It just feels that way. But yeah, he's been moving and grooving and doing the thing. So he is considered day-to-day technically right now.
And Foligno missed last night with lower body?
I thought it was upper.
Or upper.
I think it was upper.
Okay, I trust you.
It's a body thing somewhere on there. He skated, though. Foligno was there were only like 11 guys that skated in morning skate, and he did skate, and I didn't notice anything, but he was throwing that body around that St. Louis game. I think he had like a team high 5 or 6 hits, so I imagine maybe he was just feeling a little bit of pain. I don't know that it was anything concerning because, again, having taken part in that optional skate made me believe that he was obviously testing something out, but Hines said nothing at post game on that. So we'll have to wait till tomorrow to find out more.
Maybe it was something when he tackled that guy on the Blues.
Yeah, right. Like he was just a menace.
Jumped. He jumped too high on that screen for Jake's goal.
Yeah.
He skied. So someone got a great shot. I think it might have been the Star Tribune. Someone got a great shot of that, and he is way too high for a man of his age, and jumping on skates cannot be simple. So I don't know what
I wouldn't do it. I probably wouldn't do it.
Oh, hell no. I'd clear out. It's not my job. It's Boldy's job. So on Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek, and I know that the criticism, it feels like, of Bill Guerin has picked up about the fact that he didn't, as we talked about, the option was there. Kirill is on LTIR. You could have done the same to Ek and made a significant trade, and clearly had to trade something away from the future. I don't know if the draft picks, I mean, my God, they've traded a ton of those. But do we now think that Bill Guerin, because this has been my theory, I guess, do we now think, Jessi, that Bill Guerin in part didn't make a trade because, one, he would have had to give up some nice prospects, which I get, but two, more importantly, he has real questions despite his confidence. He has real questions about the return of either player. And if you're not going to get them back, like if you're afraid that they're not going to come back and be anywhere near a semblance, for the playoffs of who they've been, it makes no sense to go get, just to throw a name out there, Brock Nelson and say, hey, Brock, you're our guy now. The Avs put Brock as a second line center. He fits in nicely there. I think if you are faced with Kaprizov and Ek either not returning or coming back at a semblance of themselves, I'm not going to go trade away prospects because Jared Spurgeon's old and oh my God, this is not fair to Jared Spurgeon. You know what? And here's my rant too. If you wanted, you could have won playoff series when you were younger. You didn't. So Marcus Foligno is not getting any younger. You know what? You had chances to win playoff series. You didn't. In my opinion, Bill Guerin owes those guys nothing. And if anything, I'd strip away the damn no trade clauses too. But do you think that is a possibility, that they just didn't want to make a trade, give up prospects because there is a fear that Kaprizov and Ek are just out, or if they do come back, they are not going to be themselves?
I mean, anything's possible, I guess. I believe that Bill Guerin does have belief in the team. It's funny though, you look at this squad and everything that they've endured, it's the same as last year. Nothing has changed. There is no difference between last year's roster and this year's roster, including the injuries. However, they put themselves in that better position in the first place. And I don't think Bill Guerin necessarily seems like the kind of guy that just to be like, well, there we go. It is beyond frustrating to not do anything with either of those players. I think especially again with Judd Eriksson Ek, who I continue to be told it's not great. Like it's going to be very difficult for him to return for the regular season. I get the whole I don't know reaction. I get the whole we want them back. I get that.
Right.
You have now $35 million sitting on your bench with those players and the buyouts. You cannot compete against other teams with that. So I mean to have that, I can't wrap my head around Bill Guerin having that even possibility, like, oh, it's fine. Especially when the Wild had put themselves in the positions they did to get into the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Right. But would you go get, but
I wouldn't know, but I wouldn't.
I wouldn't go get help.
Brock Nelson. No, I wouldn't have gone crazy with it either. I would have just done something. And that something is not,
but like what?
Justin Brazeau. And it's not
I agree with that.
Like I just would have done, I would have put Ek on LTIR, and I would have found at least a little something to get through this. We all know, even if Kirill were here, this wasn't looking like a team that was going to get to the second round no matter what, even if Colorado didn't add, Kirill is still the team leading scorer at this point. That ain't a really good indication of what else you have beyond Kirill Kaprizov. He still is leading the scoring race with 23 goals. Okay. No, this team was never going to go the distance. And so I know that's kind of a wishy-washy answer, maybe a little word salady. I just would have done something a little bit more to at least help, at least just make you feel more secure. If they hadn't won last night, I would be like, this team's not even going to make the playoffs now, which would have been beyond frustrating to see it completely. The earth would have fallen, guys. That's what would have happened then.
John Hines wouldn't have told you that.
Nah,
no. Everything's fine.
Like oh God. All right.
So age to Jesse's point then, if Bill had gone out and gotten some more help or just a bit of help, what would you have been willing to give up? Because you're more of a prospect guy than us, probably, certainly than me. So because that's my question is once Kirill's out and Ek's out, and by the way, on Ek, everyone made their own bed. Everyone made their own bed. You let him go with a bad leg. His leg's broken.
What happened, Judd?
His leg's broken. He sat out a game. He went and played in a highly competitive tournament. And by the way, this whole thing too, and this is why it's just all lies. I love the one of he played against Detroit, and then he practiced and he looked fine. I now read he could barely walk out of the building. Like he couldn't walk out of the building. So
I told you guys that I had heard he was on and then somebody came at me and was like, well, he was at Whiskey and Wine Night. I'm like, yeah, he ditched the crushes to stand there for a minute.
No, but that practice where he supposedly got hurt, which his leg just gave out. Like I read in retrospect too, to your point about being on crutches, that he could he couldn't walk. And by the way, you can actually probably skate a little bit and not walk.
Can't get your skate off then. I bet that boot's real tight.
Exactly. But anyway, age. So what from a prospect standpoint? Because my question is, what would you like to get a little help? What would you have surrendered?
Oh God. I mean, there's a few guys that I think you would have said no, like is staying for sure, because you look at the team, like the uncertainty there, you don't want to leverage like a probably a key guy for the future. And granted, there's a very select Zeev Buium. I think Riley Height's going to be a massive player for this team in the coming future.
Right.
And probably Dania Yurov. That's like the three. If like there's a lot of uncertainty with Wallstead now. Go ahead.
I have a question about Danilia. And because this has been swishing around in the old brain, because there's not much happening on the ice on game night, so I just start the pot in my own head. Yeah, exactly. Given how Murat Huznadinov came in with this hype, right, and this excitement, and again, I succumb to the fact that, okay, he's actually a third liner or fourth liner, not a potential top six. Does that worry you at all that Danilia is similar? Because I don't know. I don't watch them in the KHL, right? Mm-hmm. But Murat had all of this, like, he's tearing it up in the K. He's going to be great. He can win the faceoffs and yada, yada. First of all, I didn't know he was that small because, again, never saw the kid when he was over there. But it starts to raise a little bit of concern, too, about the assessment of Danilia. And, like, am I projecting him to be better than he is? Because it's the same type of, like, yay, we got him. He's coming. Am I just being like overly critical at this point? Again, having not seen anything out of this kid.
I think part of that was probably misguided stuff about Huznadinov, because like look, you see what he is now. I think the skating aspect was accurately reported, but it was always like he's a second line two-way center. Like he can play defensively. Like I missed the, he's going to be the next like premier elite center or whatever, but I did see a few of those, but I never thought that I necessarily got like he's going to be an upper echelon player. I thought he's going to be a constant contributor in the lineup. And granted, I guess a everyday fourth liner is an everyday contributor, but I think it's also a different style of players because he's a two-way guy who can play defensively. Not that Yurov can't, but Yurov has the scoring. Like this has been a little bit of a down year, and obviously now he's got the injury, but he broke the like under 18 scoring in the KHL. That was previously like he passed Panarin, he passed Kaprizov. He's taken a big role, and there was a big growth and development. So I don't know, don't expect a second Kaprizov.
So AJ said he's going to be better than Kaprizov is kind of what I'm hearing.
I'm super glad that was followed up right after I said don't expect a second.
Well, yep, no, but better than better.
But he's got a scoring touch where it's not like that's the, no offense to the Finnish league, but it's not the Finnish league. Like the KHL is, I think, pretty respected when it comes to talent. They have some pretty high quality players there that just don't play anywhere else. Mm-hmm. There is going to be an adjustment, but I feel like he's going to be able to adjust relatively quickly. And, he's not going to put up he's not going to do a point a game, especially in his first couple of seasons. But I think you could probably get to a point where he's a 25 to 30 goal scorer after 2 seasons. He's probably getting 40-ish assists. And if you get, if you get 60 plus points out of him in one of the first few seasons, you're going to be ecstatic. He's going to show a little promise. And I think he's a guy that probably does figure into that top 6 more easily than you would have assumed with Huznadinov originally.
Again, I'm just still hearing better than Kaprizov. That's good. Nope, that's good.
Well, and let's not assume that the Huznadinov trade was the right trade too. Let's not assume that he is that he is this bust or that he was this expendable piece. I'm very curious to see him now get a real chance. I feel like his game was not allowed to mature in this league because he's playing with fourth line guys. He's playing with Trennan, one of the Wild's worst signings of all time, at least in the last 10 years, a terrible signing. So, question for Jessi to end the show. But before I do, Jessi, tell me about getting your golf game in shape.
Yeah, golf season just about here, you guys. Congrats to Rory, by the way, for winning the other day. Love to see that on St. Patrick's Day.
Where's my phone, Rory?
Golf mode. Huh?
Where's my phone, Rory? You see that?
Right? No. What's that?
Some guy was chirping him in the gallery. And then he just after his tee shot walked over. It's like, hey, can I see your phone? And took the guy's phone and just walked away.
Stop it. That's incredible. Love it.
It's on Twitter. find
Love
it. It's
him.
hilarious.
I have to
Amazing.
find that. No, but Swing Lab getting you ready with all your gear, whether it's club fittings, whether it's your swing technique. They have it all at Swing Lab. They understand the frustration that golfers can get into. Did you meet your expectations? The Swing Lab team is here to help piece your game together and get it into focus, from casual to competitive play, from young to young at heart. Swing Lab Performance in Lakeville, here to serve every aspect of your game that you love, and maybe even the things that you hate. They'll turn it into love. You guys, don't forget, they're also serving beverages and food as well right now. Get on out to Swing Lab Performance in Lakeville. Have a good time. Have a rip-roaring time.
Outstanding. And then don't forget, of course, March 24th, which is Monday, Judd's Hockey Show Unplugged at Padres with live taping. We want you to be there because we want your questions, and we also want you to sample the outstanding beer at Padres, because all that they do is beer. Stick around then and watch the Wild play Dallas at 7 p.m. You need to register to attend just because we'd like to get a head count, but there is no charge. Sign up at scorenorth.com/JHS Unplugged. Padres is in the historic Broadway building on the corner of Broadway and Central Avenue South in Northeast Minneapolis. So join us there. Again, sign up at scorenorth.com/JHS Unplugged at Padres Monday, March 24th. We'll start around 5 p.m. and then watch the game at 7 p.m. All right, Jessi, my final question is this, and Age and I talked about this a little bit on the Monday show, but do you think that with what is transpiring here, and Kirill now being out, I think he's been out 31 games, do you think that this is building up his case to get paid? Or do you think it's hurting it? Because he's watching this, and plus, like, he also is watching a team that is just underachieving completely without him. So his importance becomes more evident than ever, right? And Ek too. But the other thing is, there also has to be a concern, and you brought this up before, that this feels like, in some ways, hopefully it's not, a little bit of Gabrick 2.0. So what's your feeling about, as Kirill watches these games, what his situation is contractually as we get set for July 1st?
It's tough, right? Because I actually had this conversation. I know you bugged my side of the press box too, so I can appreciate that, and heard me talking about this concern as well.
Oh, yeah, I'm always listening.
Because it's a two-sided coin, I think. You look at, I think the team did enough to start the year again to really show Kirill, like, hey, look at what we have here. Look at how good Matt Boldy can be. Because Matt Boldy did have a really great start to the season. Look at Brock Faber. I mean, those pillars, you have to look at those pillars. Look at Jules Eriksson Ek and everything he brings. And you know what? We're going to be really good at. Jake Middleton's even stepped up, right? And I think they showed a lot in that first couple months that had Kirill being like, okay, yes, it's me, but it's also some of these other guys, because that's what it has to be frustrating. Not to say that Kirill doesn't want to be the guy, but I think you needed to sell him on the fact that this team is you and other people. And it's got to be hard watching right now, Kirill being like, again, I'm still the leading scorer. Nobody has surpassed my 23 goals, and I haven't played for the past month and a half, right? Like, that's got to be really hard to watch. Now, again, I'm sure Bill Guerin is reminding him, hey, man, we got money. We got money this summer. We could still get us a Brock Nelson. We could still get us a Brock Besser, right? We could go out and get some supplementary scoring. So I think there is that, but I do wonder how much it's changed Kirill's opinion, because all he has to do right now is sit and watch, and that's got to not only kill him from the competitor he is, where he's like, God, I want to be out there, but he's also got to be like, I can't be the only player that continues to do this. So I think you need to see more from Boldy, not just on the score sheet, but I need Boldy to be out there and be like, hey, Kirill, don't worry. I got this. I can do this. And Marco Rossi to be like, I got this. We could do this. Even Zuki, right? Like, you need to just at least generate some more of those shots, generate more of those opportunities, just to remind Kirill, like, hey, we will help you as well. It's not going to be the one-man band. And as of late, it's appeared so. I mean, we know the value of Kirill Kaprizov. It's scary to see just how much they need him to have this offense going, because I was hopeful that wasn't the case. So, again, two-sided coin. I think the free agency will still be good, but it can't be super comforting for Kirill to be watching right now.
And from their end, from the team's end too, like, this is a concern. Like, he has missed substantial time. I mean, this started off day to day, and it's clear. So, like, are you worried? Like, does this solve? Yeah. So does this solve? Like, is the like, it's not a broken arm. So is the problem solved now? Is this going to be a lingering problem, which they obviously hope it's not. But I'm just saying, when Leopold met with us before the season during that exhibition game, he basically said blank check. Kirill, blank check. No one will outpay us. And his importance has never been more evident, but his importance is because of an injury. That's a concern. Like I'm not saying he won't get signed, and I'm not saying that they won't pay him a lot, but this is just a crucial time now, because if they do sign him and they are wrong and he continues to get hurt, that's 8 years. That's 8 more years. 8 more years. I mean, we're getting done with part of the 13 years of Zach and Ryan. So it's really changed my mindset as far as like what a huge decision in the Wild's history this is going to be, Age.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting because I don't think anybody, like if you stood outside the XL Energy Center and you just had a random poll that was like, hey, right now, would you sign Kirill Kaprizov to an 8-year extension for, I mean, I'm not going to do Jessi's not a cent over 14 million, but let's
I said 14 and a half. Let's not twist the words.
And we speculated it'd be 17 or 18, right? AJ?
Yeah, I mean, and that frankly, that was when he was healthy and looking like a Hart Trophy guy, because when he's healthy, I think, yeah, that's probably a decent value. But I think everybody that would be asked out there would probably say yes. Like survey says, 100%. Sign Kirill Kaprizov to an 8-year extension. I feel like they almost need to. Like, and Judd, this is what we kind of touched on yesterday, which is this is the best player they've had in franchise history. This is like untethered ground for this regime because they've never had a player of this quality before. Not that they can't handle the negotiations or like the pressure that comes with trying to extend him. I guess we'll have to officially see here come July 1st. But it feels like more likely than not, the scales are going to tip in favor of, no, we have to keep him. We can't, because if not, you're not that you're going to be able to just say he's not here. This is the team that you're seeing right now. That's now the Kirill Kaprizov less Minnesota Wild. You would try to trade him and get some sort of massive package back in a deal that you're ultimately going to lose. But you're going to probably have to extend him. The issue is that there's always going to be now that in the back of the mind, especially with the secrecy, I guess, and just lack of general info about these injuries that hockey players have. We still don't know exactly what it was that he had surgery on. We don't from day to day to week to week, all of a sudden, hey, yeah, now he's having surgery. Who knows if this is a full recovery, 100%, because they'll probably say that, yeah, we expected full recovery, should be 100%. Meanwhile, if he does come back before the end of the season, I bet you he's probably no better than 80%, but 80% Kaprizov is probably still better than 100% most players in the league. So
definitely most players on the Wild. What? Sorry.
Who said that? But yeah, there's always going to be that nagging thing now, because it's been 3 years in a row you've had some sort of injury, and it seems like each time, year after year, it gets progressively worse. Like Judd said, up to I think 31 games that he's been out now because of this, and then the 1 or 2 that he had earlier in the season. But will that progressively get worse? Is there going to be a time where maybe he has something right away to kick off the year in week 2, and then all of a sudden another big injury flare up, and hey, season-ending surgery?
Well, and you can't assure me because of the complete lack of transparency too. You cannot tell me for sure that this is not go back to the Logan Stanley hit against the Jets, because he got folded there, and I've always thought
yeah,
he's up.
They
and
don't
down.
like him in Winnipeg right now.
Yeah, but anyway, so
don't make him down here either.
So yeah, Jess, last word for you, but I think that this is a very it's crystal clear that they have to have him back. But it's also crystal clear that if they do, they've got to cross their fingers that we don't continue to go down this road, because he's going to get paid a ton. And can you imagine him, 31 games right now, 20 games next year? Like it is a real conundrum that they just, I guess, have to hope.
Especially because Marian Gaborik and Kirill Kaprizov are very different people as far as their work ethic and mindset, which is great. But that worries me, because that means Kirill would play extremely hurt, which would do more damage, which is why I think, again, there's that extra caution right now, because Kirill is raring to go. I've seen him a handful of times now down in the hallway if the opposing team has a Russian player and him catching up. And you can see just like the frustration on his face that he's not out there. And I'm going to bring my Russian translator sometime so I can hear what he says. Because there's been a couple times where he's a little loud and I'm like, he's bitching about this. And
if you need some of those bugs that Judd has, we can set some stuff up.
Perfect. See, this is good. This is good.
I can translate for you. He's effing mad.
Yeah, it wasn't happy, I don't think. But
all right, kids, great stuff. So what? 2 games left. They got the Kraken at 8:52 on Wednesday. Is that right, Jessi?
8:52 is the 8:52.
I am not. I might scratch myself from that game. Maintenance day, and then they end this homestand with a game on Saturday afternoon. I love a Saturday afternoon tilt.
Then they're back. Don't worry. They're only gone for
they have 11 games in March at home. It's ridiculous.
Then who's here next week?
Who?
Ovechkin.
Oh, Ovi on the 27th.
Only
Ovi.
He needs a Hattie.
Ovi on the 27th. Ovi, come on, man. Come on.
How many
get the record.
Got to kick it into high gear.
Right now?
He's still 8. 8 away. You've got
He's got a hat trick
4 games before. Yeah, but he's got Florida. He needs to go off on tonight's a soft game. I think Philly. He's got Philly.
2 goals
Philly,
tonight.
He can go
empty
off
netter.
Philly. Yeah.
Or 2 or 3 goals with an empty net goal for the Hattie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he needs a couple.
I'm with you on this. I want to see it tied or broken in the worst way. All right, we're done. Judd's Hockey Show. Talk to you soon.